I won with sort of my attitude and my mindset and my short game. You know, I chipped and putted really well that week. A lot of like recovery shots I played really well.
No one saw this coming from Rory McIlroy. The entire PGA was left speechless after what just went down. A shocking twist that flipped months of criticism and doubt on its head. For weeks, people whispered that Rory was past his prime, that the fire had faded, but at the Players' Championship, he stepped up and made the world eat its words. Under that blazing Florida sun, McIlroy didn't just win, he owned the entire course. Every swing looked smooth like poetry in motion, every putt landed with precision, and every decision screamed confidence. It wasn't luck, it was pure class. Fans went wild, cameras couldn't stop flashing, and for the first time in what felt like forever, golf had its king standing tall again. But here's the real question, what does this victory mean? Because this wasn't just another shiny trophy for the shelf, this was Rory sending a message to the critics who doubted him, the rivals who overlooked him, and even the PGA big shots who quietly wondered if he still had it in him. When he walked off the 18th green, wrapping his arms around Erica and little Poppy with tears streaming down his face, it wasn't just about emotion. It was vindication. Months ago, scandals and media pressure nearly crushed him, but in one legendary performance, he turned all that noise into fuel and reminded everyone exactly who runs this game. The officials stood in disbelief, rivals shook their heads, and the fans, they knew they had just witnessed Rory McIlroy's rebirth, and it was electric. After all the chaos around Rory McIlroy, the drama over his equipment, the questions about his form, and the constant rumors about his off-course tension, he turned every ounce of that noise into pure fire. His final round wasn't careful or cautious. It was fearless, bold, and dripping with swagger. Every birdie he dropped felt like a punch back at his critics. Every fist pump, it wasn't for show. It was personal. He wasn't just playing to win, he was making a point, and that point landed harder than anyone saw coming. Rory McIlroy is not done. Not even close. When the scoreboard lit up with his name shining at the top, the entire golf world felt the ground shift beneath them. This wasn't just a victory, this was a statement of resurgence, a turning of the tide. But the real story, the heart of it, lies in what he had to climb through to get here. When the world counted him out, Rory didn't lash out or crumble. He went silent and started grinding in the dark. In the weeks after the whole driver scandal, he vanished from the headlines completely. No flashy quotes, no interviews, no social media games. Just long mornings on the range and quiet, lonely nights hitting balls under those cold floodlights. He rebuilt everything, swing by swing, inch by inch, like a man possessed. Sources close to Rory's camp said he became obsessed, studying spin rates, launch angles, and ball flight like a scientist chasing perfection. It stopped being about proving the PGA wrong. It became about proving himself right. The whispers of doubt grew louder, but Rory was cooking something big, and he planned to silence everyone the only way he knows how, with his game. By the time Rory McIlroy stepped onto the course at the Players' Championship, something was different. You could see it in his walk, the calm, the swagger, the quiet storm brewing behind every step. The way he gripped that club, the way his eyes locked in like a sniper on every target. It was vintage Rory, but sharper, colder, and more dangerous than before. His drives looked effortless, his focus unshakable, and his putting like a laser slicing through every inch of doubt that once surrounded him. Even the commentators who had spent months writing his career obituary suddenly changed their tune mid-broadcast. Then came the shot, the iconic 17th hole. One perfect swing, one fearless strike straight through the heart of the green, dead center. The crowd erupted into chaos, fans screaming his name, flashes going off like fireworks. But Rory didn't celebrate wildly. He just gave a small nod, that knowing nod that said, "Yeah, I'm back." This wasn't a comeback creeping in. It was a rebirth exploding before everyone's eyes. And then came the moment no golf fan will ever forget. As he drained that final putt and sealed the win, Rory dropped his putter, exhaled deeply, and walked straight into the arms of Erica and little Poppy. Cameras caught everything. The tears, the laughter, the weight lifting off his shoulders in real time. It wasn't relief, it was redemption. He had faced the rumors, the pressure, the controversy, and came out stronger, calmer, and unstoppable. That family embrace said everything words never could. Rory McIlroy was back, and the PGA felt it like a thunderclap across the sport. The cheers, the headlines, the pure disbelief, all of it confirmed one thing: golf's storm had returned, and its name was Rory McIlroy. This wasn't just another Rory McIlroy win, it was a defining chapter in his legacy, a bold, loud reminder to every critic out there that he's still the heartbeat of modern golf. But as the champagne popped and celebrations kicked off, the aftershocks of his victory were only beginning to rattle the PGA to its core. The shockwaves from McIlroy's triumph didn't just hit fans, they tore through the walls of the PGA itself, exposing cracks that had been ignored for far too long. Just days after his win, the very organization that once questioned his composure and criticized his equipment was suddenly the one under fire. According to Reuters, the PGA of America's CEO came forward with a stunning public apology. Yes, an actual apology to Rory and his family for the disgusting fan abuse he faced during the Ryder Cup. That kind of accountability from the PGA? Practically unheard of. This wasn't just an apology about one ugly moment. It was a confession that they'd underestimated the emotional storm Rory carried all season long. For once, the PGA had to face the truth. It wasn't just McIlroy who had something to prove, they did too. And now, the entire world was watching every move they made. For years, Rory McIlroy has been more than a golfer. He's been the voice, the conscience, and the fighter of the sport. He's defended golf's traditions, called out its hypocrisy, and spoken up when everyone else stayed quiet. And only after this roaring comeback did the establishment finally realize what he truly meant to the game. The same commentators who once painted him as emotional or unpredictable were now praising him as a symbol of resilience. Rory didn't just win a tournament, he won back the soul of golf. Even the harshest voices inside the PGA started changing their tune. Suddenly, everyone was talking about Rory McIlroy's composure and leadership. According to The Sun, event organizers later admitted they hadn't even realized how vile some of the fan abuse was until after the Ryder Cup, an admission that sounded less like honesty and more like damage control. For the first time in years, the PGA's tone had flipped from authority to apology, and it was clear the league looked smaller than its brightest star. Behind those polished boardroom doors, McIlroy's victory was forcing uncomfortable conversations. Officials were suddenly scrambling to address issues they'd ignored for too long, from crowd behavior to player treatment and even their credibility with top athletes. The PGA, the same league that always demanded respect from its players, was finally being forced to give it back. Fans all over social media demanded stricter standards and real accountability from the suits running the show. Even rival golfers, the same ones who once side-eyed Rory, were now quietly giving him props for keeping his cool, taking the high road, and letting his swing do the talking. He didn't just win a trophy, he shifted the entire power dynamic of professional golf. For the first time in ages, a player had more control over the narrative than the institution itself. By the end of that week, one thing was impossible to deny. Rory McIlroy wasn't just back, he was in charge. The PGA's biggest name had just reminded everyone who truly carries the sport's heartbeat and headlines. But this wasn't the end of his story, and far from it. Rory's comeback had only opened the door to something even bigger. His Players' Championship triumph didn't just close a chapter of controversy, it launched a new era. With that trophy back in his hands and the world's eyes locked on him once again, the question became clear. What will Rory McIlroy do next? Every great comeback in sports has a second act, and this right here is Rory McIlroy's. The road ahead is stacked, from Augusta to St. Andrews, and every single swing he takes now carries more weight than ever. Fans aren't just hoping for wins anymore, they're expecting history. After everything Rory's fought through, anything less than greatness won't cut it. Not for him, and definitely not for the world watching with bated breath. This victory didn't just rewrite his career, it changed how the next generation sees him. For young players climbing the ranks, Rory isn't just a rival anymore, he's the standard. Names like Victor Hovland and Ludwig Åberg keep calling him their inspiration, but after this, that inspiration feels real, solid, and undeniable. His calmness under pressure, his honesty when speaking out, and his relentless bounce back after every setback, that's the new blueprint for greatness. And for the PGA, let's be honest, Rory's story is a lifeline. In an era where loyalty, authenticity, and real integrity feel rare, McIlroy is the one holding the torch. He's given the PGA exactly what it desperately needed. A hero, not a brand puppet or a corporate smile, but a real human face that stands for something bigger than money or sponsorships. The PGA needed someone to believe in again, and they found it in Rory McIlroy. But even legends know how to laugh at themselves. In a recent TalkSport interview, Rory cracked up sharing his worst purchase ever, a flashy luxury car he bought with his first paycheck that broke down just weeks later. Fans loved it, because behind all the trophies, pressure, and headlines, he's still the same kid from Northern Ireland, just Rory, humble, passionate, and still in love with the game that made him who he is. But make no mistake, Rory McIlroy's story isn't just about golf anymore. It's about legacy, pride, and proving that true greatness doesn't fade. It evolves. Every tournament he enters now feels like a global event, with fans hanging on every shot, every expression, every press conference. There's an aura around him again, that electric presence that reminds everyone why he became the face of modern golf in the first place. Insiders say he's walking with a different kind of energy these days, calmer but unshakable. He's not chasing records for fame anymore. He's chasing them to cement his place among the legends. And deep down, even his rivals know it. You can see it in how they talk about him. The respect, the quiet envy, the realization that Rory's comeback might just reshape the entire PGA narrative. Because now, every headline, every round, every roar from the crowd isn't just about a score, it's about a movement. Rory has reignited interest in the sport like few ever could. Kids are picking up clubs again, inspired by his passion and perseverance. Sponsors are doubling down, tournaments are selling out, and golf, a sport often accused of being too quiet, suddenly feels alive again. And here's the beautiful irony. All of this came from a man who nearly walked away from it all. Just months ago, people whispered that McIlroy might fade quietly into the shadows, but instead, he turned that silence into power. He came back swinging, smiling, and showing that class never crumbles. It just waits for the right moment to roar. The message is clear. Rory McIlroy isn't chasing the game anymore, and the game is chasing him. And now, the question on everyone's mind is simple. What's next for Rory McIlroy? After rewriting the script and shaking up the entire PGA, he's standing on the edge of something bigger than a comeback. A reignition. Every tournament ahead feels like a new chapter waiting to be written, and fans can sense it. That unstoppable energy that only Rory brings to the green. Insiders close to his camp say the fire in his eyes hasn't burned this bright in years. He's more calculated, more grounded, and more dangerous than ever. The man who once carried the weight of controversy is now carrying the weight of destiny, and doing it with style. Whether it's Augusta, St. Andrews, or any course in between, all eyes are locked on McIlroy to see if he can turn this resurgence into a full-blown era of dominance. But it's not just about trophies anymore, it's about meaning. Rory's comeback has reminded the world that golf isn't just about precision and patience. It's about heart, resilience, and refusing to fold when the world turns against you. That's why fans are rallying around him like never before. Not just cheering for a golfer, but for a fighter who turned his struggles into strength. Even analysts who once doubted him now admit it. McIlroy's influence has transcended the sport itself. His voice carries weight, his presence draws crowds, and his story inspires millions. The PGA needed a spark, and Rory became the flame. So as the world watches him tee off once again, one thing's certain. This isn't the end of his story. It's the beginning of his legend. What do you think? Can Rory keep this momentum going and take over the season? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share it with your golf crew, and make sure you subscribe for more on Rory McIlroy's unstoppable rise. See you on the next one. It's that rare humility, not just his talent, that keeps the entire world rooting for Rory McIlroy. Through every scandal, every doubt, and every headline that tried to drag him down, he turned it all into motivation and came back swinging harder than ever. From whispers of decline to a roaring return to dominance, Rory reminded the golf world exactly who he is and why he's still the sport's beating heart. He didn't just win a trophy, he reignited the soul of golf. That combination of grace and grit, The calm confidence mixed with quiet fire has made him more than a player. He's become a symbol of resilience. Every time he steps onto the course, you can feel it. That energy that says, I'm still here and I'm not done yet. The transformation has been nothing short of legendary. He went from being questioned to being celebrated, from under fire to unstoppable. And while his rivals may still hope for a misstep, one thing's for sure, Rory McIlroy has already written himself into history, not as the golfer who fell, but as the champion who rose again. So now it's your turn. Do you think this incredible comeback changes Rory's legacy forever? Or was the PGA ever justified in doubting him in the first place? Drop your thoughts down below. We want to hear what you think. And before you go, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow golf fans. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next because Rory's story is far from over. See you on the next one.